let's talk about the therapist in the case, specifically Dr. James Reed. Can I see a show of hands of people who've had Dr. James Reed in their cases? Okay. Sue, tell me about Dr. James Reed.
James Reed was ordered by the judge to be our psychological evaluator. My impression is that my attorney, selected him. I asked my attorney how many times he had worked with him, what kind of credentials he had, and my attorney said, well, I just started using him, but he's supposed to be pretty good. I find out recently that it was actually Eilert, the opposing counsel, that hired Reed. His evaluations, of which I have both mine and my ex-husband's, was incredibly slanted towards my ex. The verbiage in his evaluations, essentially he took a very limited amount of data and he did a lot of subjective reasoning. And anything that he subjectively reasoned about me was terribly negative. Brought up everything within my life that I had shared honestly with him and exploded it to where it presented me as a very unfavorable person / parent. While anything to do with my ex, he basically glossed over any negative things regarding him and made him look favorable. He had a star witness for my ex, being my ex's ex. He didn't have any star witnesses for me. And there was a mention they had discussed, he had asked my ex's ex how much he drank. Her response was, if you were in AA, you would say he had a drinking problem, but I don't think that he does. My ex had replied with something much less to the extent of drinking 1 or 2 drinks a day, which is what Jill had said. So bottom line is he had within his own report 2 conflicting statements that he didn't even highlight. He didn't highlight anything within my ex's statement that showed him in a disfavorable light and roasted me. He is the reason why, one of the reasons why it went down the way it did with Hemphill and why I lost full legal of my children and went to 50-50.
He said something in your report that Megan pointed out as a student of psychology and getting her degree in psychology says this is not a psychological disorder. Yes. Why don't you tell about that?
So I did not mention this in the interview with you, but he provided, both for my mom and my father, that a subjective and objective opinion of their psychological state. And his objective opinion was that because my mother, quote unquote, showed herself in a more favorable light, that she should be diagnosed with an unspecified personality disorder. That's an objective opinion. That's not, no, it is not objective. It is a subjective opinion based on stupid grounds. First of all, an unspecified personality disorder does not exist. There are only 3, at least 3 clumps. And unspecified is not one of those. You have to specify it, otherwise it is not a personality disorder. Personality disorders are extremely hard to diagnose. And so saying unspecified is not only going against what you studied, what you have a PhD in, going against your entire field, but it's also trying to damage the image of a woman who does not have a personality disorder.
Good job, naked.
What was your experience with Reed?
Mine. Very similar. I had to take the MMPI-2. I also took the PAI, so I had 2 different questionnaires plus an oral interview with him. And very similar as far as slanting one way over the other. He asked for letters from my ex, or my daughter's father and his family. Never once asked for any letters from anybody that I know of. Left out the good review that was given to him by my older daughter's father. Diagnosed me with borderline personality disorder. He listed all the traits of borderline personality disorder, but never once said which of those traits that I had.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you feel paranoia that your loved ones are going to leave you?
Are you being serious?
I'm being serious.
No.
So then you don't have borderline personality disorder.
Right.
That is the one signifying trait of it. That is literally the single trait that doctors will ask for. And if you have it, then you're probably have it. But if you don't have it, then you 100% do not have borderline.
No. Yeah.
Vita, you had Reed as well?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
And he diagnosed you with?
Oh, it's a bouquet.
Go ahead.
So I had a borderline personality disorder. I had antisocial personality disorder, which you can only have if you have a criminal conviction, which I do not.
Megan is looking, she was looking so confused. She was like, yep, there's something wrong. Yep, that's correct.
I was diagnosed as a narcissist.
You can't have
Can't
all
have
three.
borderline
You
and
can't have all three.
And I also had unspecified.
Yeah.
Specified.
And both of you guys, and Reed also said for both of you that it was parental alienation? Was it
Oh,
Reed?
yes, oh, definitely,
But
yeah.
it was Reed, so did he
That was-
put it all together,
Yeah.
and then did he
Yes.
say the PA was as a result of you having all of these other personality disorders?
But I have to clarify. So the report said that I had all these disorders.
Mhm.
And when I paid $3,000 to get the Reed's file,
Mhm.
I took the result, I took my answers and my ex's answers to another professional.
Mhm.
And he ran the reports. And they came that I am absolutely healthy. And my ex was
Is not.
hostile, violent, and had all these personality disorders.
And on mine,
But he didn't mention it in the report.
on
No,
mine,
of course
okay,
not.
so what's
Of course
weird
not.
on mine with Reed is he actually put the results of my MMPI in there, and it said that I'm exceptionally well adjusted to life in my psych review from him. But then goes on to diagnose me with a personality disorder.
And how did he explain the results of the MMPI away?
He didn't.
Right.
He didn't.
So he just put in that the MMPI says you're fine,
Mhm.
but in my
But then
opinion,
yes, but then he'll expound on other topics. For example, I had been in active counseling for 11 years with the same psychologist, and you are given a timeline by Reed to have all of these records sent to him from your doctors. He gives you a timeline, and if you don't meet that timeline, then you're out. The timeline wasn't reasonable, and I can't control what my doctor's office does or doesn't do. However, they sent my records from 11 years of counseling to him twice. Okay, he didn't get either package. I sent him emails asking him to confirm that he did receive the records from my doctor's office. No, I didn't get them. No, I didn't get them. So then I respond with, well, would you please call so-and-so, and she can describe what it looked like. I don't see what I could solve by doing that, was his email reply. And then in the report, the evaluation, he puts how I would not supply those records, and he can only suppose that it would mean there would be derogatory statements or items in there about me, and then he expounded for another paragraph because I wouldn't provide the records. When I have still the letter from the lady from the doctor's office wrote him a letter, which I sent to him saying, we have sent these records 2 times on this date and this date. So we were talking about counselors earlier, and in the last round, Keyswater, who was the GAL, and Hemphill was the judge, they had ordered for my ex and the 2 kids, Megan and her brother, to go to counseling with Elizabeth Bennett. These counseling sessions were supposed to be at a very set time. My memory says like every 2 weeks. Well, my ex wasn't taking them, okay? And so I'm making statements to the GAL saying, okay, he's not taking them for court-ordered counseling. What's going to be done about this? In the actual judgment that was put out in June of 15, she actually has in there that Elizabeth Bennett is supposed to supply counseling for the family, including me, along with mediation by John Borders. What I found out very recently from my ex is that Elizabeth Bennett wouldn't return his calls to set up the appointments with him and the children. And he was selected by Keyswater. So the judge is ordering us to see a counselor that reportedly isn't responding to phone calls.
At the time, you blamed your ex-husband for not taking them.
Yes, I did.
So do you think there was any intention on her behalf to create more conflict between the two of you?
Yep. Yep.
Yes, it's been very, I mean, in the past week, okay, since all this has come into my brain and I'm finding out about this movement, some pieces are coming together for me, okay? And by talking to my ex, we're comparing notes. What was your perception? What was going on your side, on my side? I'm thinking he's not taking the kids to counseling. GAL, why aren't you doing something about this? Judge, why are you ordering us to see this counselor, which isn't happening now? And then talking to my ex, it finds out that the counselor appointed by the GAL, okay, knew she wasn't returning phone calls, knew she wasn't being cooperative setting up these counseling sessions. So there's an obvious disconnect there,
Yeah.
okay, between what's being ordered and what really is going on, and what's really going on doesn't matter, okay? It just doesn't matter. I don't know how to express this properly, but the absolute circus, the hostility, the war that they cause between the parents, I firmly believe is fostered on purpose so they make money,
Yeah.
okay? And they keep the parents at odds with each other on purpose.
That's right.
Okay, and obviously my ex and I didn't get along. We were getting a divorce, right? Obviously. So I feel from day one that they were pitting us against each other. They weren't properly sharing information, and they certainly were not talking about any kind of reconciliation, no true mediation, no true experts that are skilled at family counseling and reuniting, compromise, something. All they did was pour fuel on the fire, which kept us fighting with each other, affecting the children. And I knew, my sense was, this is what's going on. I didn't realize how organized it was until I saw the podcast of the leaked video and EVITA's 7-minute segment. I didn't understand. I was too naive to comprehend just how they all are colluding together. They're colluding together to make money and harm families and destroy them when they're already stressed out and distressed in the first place. And the ones who pay are the children. Okay? The kids pay. They don't get a fair upbringing. They don't get a say in court. And all these players, all these actors are making a shit ton of money, pardon my French. They're vultures. Okay? They're picking at the remains of a failed relationship and making as much money as they can.
On that note, Judge Frawley, Sarah PLEBAN, Hank Miller, Art Nissenbaum, each and every single one of them tried to separate us, tried to divide us, tried to drive a wedge.
My ex-wife.
They didn't want me in the picture at all. If they wanted, if he wanted to
Wait a
see-
minute. They were trying to reunify him with his ex-wife?
Yes,
They
to
wanted
go to
to-
marriage counseling. They weren't married. I'm his wife.
You're his wife.
Wow!
Gosh.
So it was very, it's along the same, the goal is the same,
Yes.
but how you get there, there are many different ways. And that was the way. I won't bend. This does not define me, even though it's on paper. That doesn't define who I am because it's all bull. But through him, it was, he's the nicer of the two is how they perceived us. He's the one that will give. He's the one, it's his child. So Judge Frawley would do every single thing, and really he was the last person. It was really Sarah. It was really Art Nissenbaum. It was really Hank Miller, because they would say, you've not missed any visitations, you've not missed a child support payment, you've not missed keeping the health insurance up, you've not missed any of that, you've never abused the child, you're never late, he's followed the decree, and she's done all the things that you can possibly do, and they want to penalize him by using me as the punching bag. So they wanted me out of the picture so he could see his son.
That happened in my situation.
I mean, it's all about money. It's all about money.
It's all about the money.
How much will you take?
Picture, so the girlfriend can have my son.
Well, when the father was accused of molesting my youngest child, they said, well, maybe the ex-husband did it. I mean, he did. We were married then, so my real husband, not the kid's daddy, but the person that I was trying to marry. The judge didn't like that because he said we met on a bus stop. He just said that was a no-no. So he had my dad get on the stand.
He had an opinion about how you met?
Like it's like meeting on the internet or something. People do that all the time. But he said that he didn't like the fact that I met my ex-husband on a bus stop.
What's the difference between a bus stop and a bar?
So then he put my dad.
Yeah, I mean,
Supermarket. Maybe they just left the supermarket or church.
Well, my dad met my mom the same way. He drove for Metro, which used to be bi-state. So he was like, that's how I met her mom. So, but still, the judge wound up pretty much trying to break us up because after the father was accused of molesting my child, he was trying to make it seem like my ex-husband did it. And my child knows the difference between who did what. We already knew, but it's a lot going on because that was another charge that after, I don't know if it happened before or after the father was arrested for the murder of my child, but he was accused of some sexual things with some other kids.
This threatens to take down the entire system. The judges are in on it.